Checking the mic. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. It's always lovely to get a response. Welcome. My name is Rachel Crocker, and I'm the director here at the Albany County Public Library, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to our 7th forum. We're at 7 of 9, so we're getting there. We're getting close, candidates. We're getting close. But yeah, it is always a pleasure to get to do this every 2 years, and be a part of this. It really fits perfectly in with our mission. So the mission of the Albany County Public Library is to build meaningful connections, to inspire growth, to cultivate curiosity, and to enhance community. And we just think this is one of the perfect ways that we get to do all of those things. I don't know that we always think about election season and curiosity, but I think we should probably think about that more. And I know, and Lynn has talked about, I love getting to sit through all 9 of these. I learn something new at every single one. And so it is great to get to be a part of this. Thank you all for being here and joining us in person. Thank you for tolerating our camera in the middle of the room, because that allows us to have our virtual online viewers who might be joining us live. So thank you, online viewers, for joining us. And this allows also our community members who in the future will be watching this as they're preparing to vote. And so we are grateful for all of you here in person, online, in the future, that are going to be joining us, because I think it's a really important part of learning about our community and the different roles that these positions play as we make really important decisions for our community. Also, candidates, thank you. Thank you for being here with us tonight. Thank you for running. Thank you for all of the time and energy that you're putting in. I know it's a lot. And so it's, I think I said to some earlier, and it stands for all of you, I do not envy you, but I very much respect and appreciate what you're doing. So thank you for being here for tonight, but thank you for all that you're doing, community. Small technical reminder, though at this point you guys have mastered it, so I don't need to say it. Please do make sure to speak into the mic, because that's going to be essential for our online folks. The people in the room can probably hear you without it, but the online folks can't. So that's my small technical reminder. And then now I'm going to turn it over to Lynn to tell us a little bit more about the forum.
Well, our scheduled moderator came down with COVID this morning, so you have me again for that. Sorry. Yeah. So I want to thank everybody, but I should certainly thank the library. We reciprocate those warm, fuzzy feelings. And for our 2 technicians, Riley and Nathan, and they make everything possible. I mean, and I've said it before, the videos are wonderful. And I watch a lot of videos. I've been watching the Corporations Committee for 2 days. They could learn from you guys. They really could. I wanted to add, there's still time to request a ballot and vote early that way. I think it's the 24th. Well, I'm guessing, but I think it's the 24th is the last day to request a ballot. But but they have to submit it at the courthouse. Okay, so what is the 24th?
Probably the last day to register. Is that 14 days out?
Yes, probably. Okay. Last day to make changes. I'm sorry. Anyway, it's just getting so close. And, at this point, just go to the courthouse. Or if you haven't yet voted and plan to vote a little bit later, go to Vote 411. And we have now, the Boomerang had an explosion of what are we going to call it? Largesse. Anyway, they gifted us a few hundred extra for free. Anyway, there are still some over here. We found a few errors inside, and Judy Knight has graciously stapled them to the front. The biggest one is that in the paper itself, it says that the county commissioners earn $90,000 each. They do not earn $90,000 each. Between the three of them, they earn $90,000. All right, well, anyway, I think that's one of the big ones. Oh, and there was a big debate going as to whether, Brian, is that your picture? It is your correct picture, because a lot of people thought that it was somebody Kemp, and they're still debating, but thank you for that. Okay, very good. And so there are two more forums. One is tomorrow, and that's the remaining legislative seats. So that's House District 13, 45, 46, and Senate District 9. And then on our last day, it's sort of a wrap-up of all kinds of county offices. And one of them is still competitive. One of them, if you looked at the old videos, you haven't met the, I think she's the Democratic candidate for county assessor. And I've already gotten assessor questions, so that just might be of interest to people. Let me introduce the timekeepers. And let me just say, I'm really impressed. I didn't think that we'd have very many people tonight. Look at you all. Congratulations. Thank you. Anyway, timekeepers. In red, we have, Jamie Egolf. And in blue, we have my partner, Al Tremblay. I forgot him last week. And the way the timing works, you can see 90 minutes is usually the top. And thank you very much. 90 seconds. And 90 seconds, counting down. 60, 30, 10, and stop. We'll again have some short answer questions, where we won't keep time, or maybe a minute question where we will start at 60 and work down. Let's see, what else? Oh, the questions. I was explaining where I got all of these questions today. My old legislative question source is getting a little small. Oops, that isn't the one. I've scratched out a lot of ones we've already used, and we'll try to keep using new ones, but you can see the ones in yellow are scratched out. We've used them before. So we'll try to be novel. But they come from old voter guides, previous forums, previous, online 411 postings. And they also come from our membership. So we try to make up a few just to start. And lastly, can I have the elected officials who are in our audience and anybody else who's running for office, could you please come up here and stand where I'm standing so that the cameras can capture you? That first time I had you come up, it was a little strange. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tracy Fletcher. I'm your current Albany County Treasurer, and I'm seeking re-election this year.
Good evening. I'm Sharon Cumby, and I'm finishing my second year in City Council.
Hello, I'm Sandy Reese, and I am running for Area A, 4-year term in the school board.
Good evening. My name is Elliot Arthur, and I'm running for Area A, 2-year for the school board.
Thank you very much. All right. Anybody have a comment or a question before we start? You're good to go? All right. Well, so this first, I'm going to do as we've done before. I'll start at that end, and then we'll go one end and make sure that we always start with the next person coming in my direction. All right. Well, so just say something. Tell us who you are, the race in which you're competing, and a short thing about yourself or your employment or your history in Wyoming, just really short. There we go. Ready, set. This is Sally King. What? Don't time it.
Hi, I'm Sally King. I am the Democratic candidate for the Albany County Coroner's Office, which I've been a part of for the last 6 years.
I guess. Why? Can I ask a question? Well, it's not the time. We don't take verbal questions from the audience. Sorry. There's paper and pencils in the chairs, on the chairs. If you could write it down and we'll come and pick it up. All right. Where were we? Oh, yes. Trey.
I'm Trey Sherwood. I'm running for re-election to continue to serve the constituents of House District 14. My day job, I'm an economic developer for downtown Laramie, and I enjoy serving our community.
Good evening. My name's Brian Schuster. I have been 20 years on City Council. I will be done this December and hope to start up as the new House District 14 representative. Thank you.
And I'm Sue Redding, and I'm running for County Clerk, and my background is business administration and ministry, and I'm excited to be serving you guys soon.
Good evening. My name is Kayla White, and I'm running for County Clerk. I have worked in the County Clerk's office for 15 years, and of those, 13 of those I have served as the Chief Deputy to the County Clerk, Jackie Gonzalez. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And you're doing well. I forgot to ask you to look at the audience, but you've been looking at the audience. All right. So let's start with Trey then. My first question is, and they might be a little different because I and everybody else have been watching, television and the newspapers. Is it possible for us not to accept federal funds and still continue or still have our schools and educational systems stand on their own feet? I know it's strangely worded.
Thank you for that question. Unfortunately, no. We are scrappy here in Wyoming, and we are fiercely independent. But the reality is that our tax base is such that it's so small that it doesn't cover all of our basic services. The Wyoming Constitution says that we are to provide an equitable education for all students. So by law, that is something that we are obligated to do for our residents. And we are unable to provide funding for our schools without working with our friends or partners at the federal level to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan, same question.
We would not be able to survive. We do get funding locally for our schools through our property taxes and things like that, but it is not enough. We have to depend on our federal partners, as like she said. We have had to dip into our rainy day account, our savings account of Wyoming every year to make all the needs for, and I'm going to use the word K through 12, because we are talking the grade schools all the way through a senior through high school. But no, we could not ever survive without them. It will take a lot of action, because I would like to see that we grow our state, because every time we can create a new business, we create more money to bring in, and part of that will go to the school district. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So, Sue, we're going to change. This is a question that came to me by email. Thank you. Last week, Interim Secretary of State Carl Allred sent letters to Wyoming's county clerks asking that they remove absentee ballot drop boxes. If you were a county clerk, how would you have responded? First part. And how would you respond if the next Secretary of State made the same request in 2024? It's yours, Sue.
Thank you for that question. Well, first of all, I believe that right now we have quite a significant portion of our population that is questioning our elections. And because of that, some of them don't vote, and there's all sorts of ramifications around that. And so a simple thing like closing the drop box is something that I would definitely have said, yeah, let's go ahead and do that, because it's easy. I mean, I know that our current county clerk said, well, we've already sent them out, we've told them they can use the drop box, but it would be very easy to put a little note on the drop box and say, why don't you walk a few steps over to the election office and put your ballot there. So I would definitely say close the drop boxes. I think it would be one of the steps towards helping voters feel more secure about the elections.
Thank you. Kayla, it's yours. Do you want me to repeat?
No,
Okay.
I understand the question. Thank you. I concur with the letter that was sent to Secretary Allred regarding the drop boxes. I think they're very important. They're under 24-hour video surveillance. The ballots are taken out daily by bipartisan judges. It's a benefit for our electors to be able to deposit their ballots how they choose. It's highly used, and I think that it's important that we continue, when we start something in an election cycle, to continue it through, because it does cause voter confusion. And you may have a voter that comes in late at night that's passing through town because they work out of town, and they try to drop their ballot in, and they're not able to do that. And so what do? So I think that it's important that we continue to use it, because we have started to use it. Now, moving forward, if the next Secretary of State states that it is unlawful for us to use the ballot boxes, then, or the ballot drop boxes, then we will stop using them. Thank you.
Okay. And just because of your job, do you know roughly how many ballots per day, per week come to the drop box? No. Okay, that's okay. I just thought to ask. All right. So Sally is alone tonight because Tiffany Reed, who's also running in the race, she's the Republican candidate. She had a family emergency and is in Colorado tonight. She didn't give me anything to read on her behalf, but if anybody knows Tiffany, we'd accept something, I think, next week, or we're at either one of the other forums. So, Sally, I told you I found an FAQ place for coroners. Questions people always ask coroners. I must say we've been pressed to find questions to ask coroners. All right, so here is, what is the process for retrieving, identifying, and examining a deceased individual?
So the process, in kind of a nutshell, is we go to the location of the call, whether that be the side of the highway, unfortunately, or just the residence, or, sometimes we do have calls in the ER, depending on the circumstances surrounding someone's death. We go to that place, we interview. We speak with the police officers, who are generally the first responding people there. We speak with any family members present, whether they were the ones who discovered the deceased or have just kind of filtered through, because everybody has a different perspective of somebody's life. So we kind of interview everybody. We document the scene where they're located. We document it well enough we can recreate the scene later if need be. But we take pictures, and then we take them back to the morgue, which we have a contract with IMH that we use, their morgue and their facilities. And we take them back there, and we take off their personal belongings, jewelry, document tattoos, scars, any injuries, determine whether or not an autopsy is necessary. If it isn't, we do a toxicology screen, so just a fluid draw. Otherwise, we'd have to take them to autopsy down in Fort Collins or Greeley. And then we bring them back, or conclude our investigation, and then generally they're released to the families or in the funeral home shortly after that.
Thank you, Sally. All right, legislators. Here we go, our candidates for legislators. What do you see as advantages or disadvantages of Wyoming using virtual currency? Brian, yes, it's yours.
Yeah. I am not in favor of using virtual currency. Most of the world's currency is regulated against the dollar. And when we start to try to do a virtual currency to try to get into the rest of the world, it's not going to work out. Because if you look right now, they're talking inflation, 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 and it is documented against the dollar. That's what all other countries documented against, that their inflation is such a percentage of that. And they were talking about it just on TV last night. I was there because we're saying, some of the government officials are saying, well, yes, there's a lot of inflation out there, but it's happening worldwide. Yeah, it is, and we're probably half the cause of it, because we are the leaders in inflation right now. We are spending a heck of a lot more than our checkbook has in it right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
So cryptocurrency is something that the state of Wyoming has invested heavily in with support from the University of Wyoming. So an advantage of leaning into a virtual currency is that we are trendsetters, that we are pushing the envelope of what future residents and community members may use to buy services, to trade, to save funds. And so I'm not ready to completely abandon cryptocurrency, even though there are risks to it and unknowns. Our representative at the federal level, Senator Loomis, is taking the best practices created by the Wyoming legislature in this arena to the state level. So I think that we'll see some reassurances on its use once it is adopted at the federal level and not just at the state level. But we do have to be aware that there are people who are using virtual currency as methods of fraud. So this is definitely a balance that we have to meet as we innovate, as we lean into the way that the university is exploring using this with the safety and welfare of our residents. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. And there was a big meeting just last Friday about cryptocurrency on campus. You can catch the legislators talking about it. All right, so what have I done? Oh, here it is. If elected, here's a softball question. If elected, what would your 2 priorities be? Kayla, I think it's yours to start.
Thank you. My first priority, I think, would be just getting into office, getting my feet wet, working in the office for 15 years. I know what goes on in the office, but it's that big transition from being a coworker to a boss. So my priority would be to get the office in order in ways that I think would be best for me. And then probably moving towards, looking at elections is a huge thing. With election security and the integrity of elections, I think instilling that back into our constituents in Albany County, that elections are run securely in Albany County, and really, instilling that confidence back in our elections. Thank you.
So my priorities, so we would be coming out of an election, and so my priorities obviously would be getting my feet wet in the county clerk's office. Thankfully, there's a well-trained staff of people in the county clerk's office, so that office will run very well as I learn the ropes. So that is something that I'm happy to tell you and happy to know. But there's just things that I've noticed about that office that could make it more efficient, and so I would begin to look at things like the hours that they work. I would like to expand those hours, say from 7 to 6, so it's more public friendly. I've noticed that some of the apps and software that they use could be more helpful. There's more helpful things that they could use to make their work easier. And I'd like to see the offices in there work together a little bit more so that we have less lines, so people don't have to go to the county clerk's line and then the assessor's line. So one line for everybody. I'd like to try to find ways to make that work so that the public is served better. And of course elections is a very big issue, and I'd like to, there's a lot of things I'd like to look into regarding elections, and that's something that I think I'll be working on from the time I get into office until the next election, because I want people to feel confident about their elections, and I must stop now. So.
Okay. Well, as you can see, I'm gathering more questions here, but I have a couple that are for all the candidates. So let's start with one of these. And Sally, I think we're back with you, and we just go in my direction. What is the proudest accomplishment you've made or done or had? I think in your workplace.
Okay. Sorry, it's a weird
everybody
spotlight
else is
question I was
thinking
not
too.
really expecting. I guess the proudest thing I've done is I managed to, my super senior year of college, I managed to get a internship with the coroner's office, actually, that just happened to turn into a career I absolutely love, and that I haven't found myself burnt out in yet, and that I've learned so much about our community and the people in it, and I've earned an even deeper respect for them than I anticipated. So even though I have to have a normal day job, it's still nice to be able to do something I still love and enjoy.
Okay, thank you. Trey.
Oh, so it's a funny question because I think a lot of us are public servants and we don't like talking about ourselves, you know?
Well, so maybe that's why it got asked.
You know, all of our successes are really because of the community and the people that are around us. But if I have to pick one, it would be that in my role as the director for Laramie Main Street, which I've served for the last 12 years, we recently received a Great American Main Street Award. So this is a national recognition. It's like an Oscar for downtown development work. And we were recognized for the longevity of our work. Looking back over the last 15 years, I have helped more than 100 businesses open in the district, grow and expand and add jobs. We have utilized public funds to create things like the Laramie Mural Project and to celebrate our creative economy. I feel very fortunate to have received this recognition, but I also throw it back to the community, right? It's because of our business owners and our property owners and so many people who are engaged in supporting our locally owned businesses that we were recognized for that work. So I guess my proudest accomplishment is feeling supported by the community in our efforts to revitalize downtown. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Brian.
That's a really tough question. Your greatest accomplishment is usually your family, and I have a great family.
Okay, well, if you want to say that first, that would be like
That's great.
1A, 1B now.
Yeah, 1B, well, I'm part of a very growing business here in town, and they're growing by 20% a year, and that's Wyotech, very proud of that. And then I've been elected, because we're 4-year terms, I've been elected to city council 5 different times by a very good majority too, knowing that I think the people trust in me. If I'm going to say an accomplishment at city council, it used to take a supermajority to adopt the annual budget. And when Wyoming had some great years in our mineral industries and bringing in money, we got a gift from them, and they were trying to decide what to do with it. And we kind of argued about that, and 2 counselors refused to approve the budget. And it was going on several hours, and I jokingly said I brought a pillow before that I would just stay there all night and everything, because they said we were not allowed to leave until it got approved. Well, I took a budget where I thought was very fat, and I put it into West Laramie. Now, if you notice in West Laramie, the 1 block each direction off of Snowy Range Road is paved, curbed, and guttered. And that was because we refused to give up on streets for the entire community. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I bet nobody here knew that, or few. Okay, Sue?
So at one point in my career, I was the director of a Bible college, and I actually took it over when it was kind of in trouble. And I was able to turn it around and keep it going and make sure that the students that were in it were able to graduate. And that required a great deal of finesse on many levels with communication and working with people and curriculum and stuff like that. And I think I'm really happy that I was able to do that. So that's one. I think another one is I've organized several large events around the country, and they've been extremely successful. And so that's another one I think I've done well.
Probably one of my proudest accomplishments in working in the clerk's office is I started as the administrative assistant in 2007, and within 2 years I was appointed as the chief deputy. And I think it's a true testament to the hard work and dedication that I have to the office. I'm also a wife of a rancher, which that's a lot of hard work right there. So that's a huge accomplishment too. So thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Well, we're going back now to the individual race questions. And Sally, you're up. What is the timeline for dealing with the family of the deceased?
The timeline of dealing with the family, like as of like notifications?
You know, I'm not sure. It's just what it says here.
Okay. So that, once again, kind of depends on circumstances. Unfortunately, a lot of the starts of our calls and cases do come from kind of the circumstances surrounding everything. With us being a transient kind of community with the college students and the interstate coming through, we do experience a lot of people who don't have local family necessarily. Most of the time, if it's a local individual, the family member's already there or have been notified by friends, and you know, we do the best we can to have a police inform family members, which is generally what happens. We do our best to track down next of kin, but that just depends on the availability of the information. Hopefully, usually that can be within 24 hours. Unfortunately, sometimes it does take longer, and that just depends on, like I said, the circumstances. But most of the time, we're able to track family members down within 24 to 48 hours. Otherwise, we're looking at out of the realm of circumstances.
Okay, let me just try a follow-up. After the initial dealings, do you deal with the family over a longer period of time?
Absolutely. We keep our office open. I know my predecessor, Jennifer, keeps her phone on 24/7, which I plan to continue, but that makes us available, hopefully readily available to any family members. If they do have questions, I've given my phone number out several times to people just to make sure that they can get any questions answered, because at that initial shock, everything's going through your mind. You don't have a chance to maybe ask something you want to. And so I do find myself answering questions weeks and months, and I know Jenny's had experiences with even years after a case. So we do keep a long-term relationship kind of with the families. It's really up to them and how much they want to reach out to us.
All right, thank you. Well, I'm tempted to ask you this one, but I won't yet. I'll try to look it up. Yeah, we'll do this one. This is one of the first ones. What is the state legislature's role in determining what books are available in public school libraries? What about county public libraries? I think this is number 4. So 5, I think it's yours first. Or do you think it's yours first, Tori? I've forgotten now. Who wants to go first? All right.
Okay, could you please repeat?
I certainly can. What is the state legislature's role in determining what books are available in public school libraries? Second part, what about county public libraries like this one?
Well, thank you for that question. Our state constitution says that under textbooks, neither the legislature nor the superintendent of public instruction shall have the power to prescribe textbooks to be used in the public schools. So to me, it's pretty clear that we need to respect local control. As much as we dislike the federal government telling us what to do, the same goes for when us as legislatures overstep our boundaries and dictate to local county public libraries, the university, or your school districts what books should be in the classroom. I think those decisions need to be made at the local level with the teachers, students' input, and input from the school board. So thank you.
Thank you. Now it's your turn, Brian.
Thank you. I was unsure I was willing to state it, but I believe in home rule. What's good in Laramie may not be great in another state or another city. That we have to, and I'm talking our school board needs to look at things, and that's why they've been elected, is this would be great for our community. I keep saying that we are strictly different. I have had counselors all the time that say, and this is how they do it down in Boulder. And I said, well, we're not Boulder. We are Laramie. We both have a university, but we are Laramie. And I really believe in that statement, home rule. So I believe that the school board should state what is proper for each individual school. And I believe, I'm guessing it's your board of directors for the library that would make any decisions on if a book is proper or not. But anybody can request a book. It can be any type, but I believe the home rule law that is the best suited for that on books. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. All right. Now we have the county clerks, and I think this is in response to what Sue said on the last go-around. How can you expand services to the public?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'd like to open the hours up so that people that work can come in at 7 and maybe come in after work at 6. So have it open from 7 to 6. I'd also like to look into more online options. I'd like to have a chat on the website so people can, rather than come into the office and stand in line, they can chat with people in the office online and get their questions answered. I've noticed as a candidate that some of the apps that they're using, like just having a fillable PDF would be so helpful for some of the stuff we do. So that's another thing I'd like to see change. I would definitely look at the staffing needs, and there might be some changes there too. So those are some of them.
All right. Thank you. Kayla.
Can you repeat the question, please?
How can you expand services to the public?
Well, I think there's a lot of ways that you can expand services to the public, although when you talk about expanding hours, the hours are set by the courthouse so that each office is open at the same time. It wouldn't behoove us of the clerk's office to be open from 7 to 6 if the treasurer's office was only open from 9 to 5. We all work congruently. When you come to the clerk's office to issue to get a title, you have to go to the treasurer's office to pay your sales tax and plates and registration, and then you have to come back and get your title because you cannot receive your title until proof of sales tax has been paid by law. So things have to kind of work together as well. I think there's a lot of things that we can do. Our website, I believe, does need a little beefing up. We need more information to help the customers maybe troubleshoot before they come into the office, although it's difficult when you think about the amount of work that we do in the county clerk's office. The biggest draw for our customers is titles, and it's not a one-size-fits-all. Every single person that comes into the office has a different situation, and sometimes it's as easy as 2 minutes, and sometimes it's a 30-minute deal, and that's not to anything of the staff. It's just the situation that the person is in. So thank you.
All right, thank you. And thank you all for these thoughtful responses. I think I'll do one more round and then we'll try some short questions. And this is for our coroner candidate. The past COVID-19 pandemic, you hear that? It's past. Okay, so has taught us that morgues across the country were overwhelmed by the amount of people that have come through. I used to live in New York City. I saw a moving truck with corpses. I was amazed. How will you ensure Albany County is prepared for a hypothetical disaster?
So I've actually been trained in like a mass fatality situation by FEMA. So we do have the resources. Unfortunately, those are in Cheyenne. So if we have any sort of those kinds of disasters, we have protocols that we've worked with other county offices and city entities to set up a plan in order to make sure we are equipped with that. As far as just maybe high amounts of deaths in a very short period of time, I would like to just keep maintaining the relationship we have with the hospital to use their resources in the morgue, as well as with our funeral home in town, because there have been times where we have to kind of, just move people around, and that takes time and effort and energy, and I think maintaining those relationships that are already established are very important in trying to accommodate any exponential growth in the deceased.
Thank you. All right, clerks, I just got a new question for you. As if you didn't know, Wyoming has been a boom and bust economy, or has a boom and bust economy. How will you, as legislators, ensure more businesses are retained and attracted to Albany County? Now, Brian, it's your turn first.
Thank you very much. In Albany County, we have worked extremely hard. Like I said, I've been 20 years on city council. So we have a group right now that is trying to build up in the new tech center on the bluff on the north end of town. We have property assigned to them and everything. They hope to put 120 new full-time employees in a research and development. We have a gluten-free bakery coming to this town. They have purchased property. We have several things, and being in my position, working with Laramie Economic Development over on Adams Street has just been fantastic. So we are trying to get us to where we are in a stable economy that will work for us for a very long time, because the energy economy, just like you said, is boom and bust. We have this great cycle where we have great revenue for the state and everything else for the city. We are now have in Albany County, we have 2 windmill sites, and possibly they have leased the property, but 1 solar site. So that will also generate jobs and the actual building of them too. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to clarify. The question said, as legislators.
As legislators, we will be working to attract, I think, both of us, any business we can for the entire state of Wyoming. But
Okay.
we will be Albany County representatives too.
All right. Trey?
Thank you. So I currently sit on the Minerals Business and Economic Development Committee, and so I have had the great pleasure of hearing directly from industry what their needs are. So sometimes it's language in statute that's awkward and it's hindering a business to grow, and we can clean that up. Sometimes it's just a gap in the legislation and a business wants to go into, say, an industrial site and create a new purpose, and currently the process through DEQ doesn't allow that. So we work with the state agencies to remove those barriers for our existing businesses to grow. And one of the reasons I ran 2 years ago was to support our local businesses, because there's a lot of grant funds and allocations for our big businesses, but the reality is that the majority of our new jobs come from existing small business owners that are here in Wyoming. So we need to make sure we're right-sizing our tools and our legislation, our grants, to benefit those businesses that already live here. They don't have to be bribed to move to the state because they love it and they have families here. And by supporting our local entrepreneurs who are best posed to identify solutions to problems in the community because they live in our community, they're our neighbors, that's where we see job growth. That's where we see a leveling out of the boom and bust cycle, is making sure that we're taking care of our small locally owned businesses as they create jobs. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, County Clerk candidates. Coming up, but not these two. We'll do a complete round, sorry. Are there any efforts you are undertaking to assure the public that elections are secure in Albany County?
Is it me?
I think so.
Currently, are there any efforts that I personally am taking? Is that the question?
I guess so. Maybe maybe we can expand that to you either are or will be, or
Okay.
or you're campaigning on those changes. How's that?
So, working in elections since I started in the county clerk's office, Albany County has elections that are run with the utmost integrity. They're fair, and it's hard to listen to all of the negative. But I mean, I think we can always, there's always things we can do better. But we have to follow the laws that are put in front of us too. So therefore, we may have really great ideas about moving forward on certain things, but we can't do it because our hands are tied because of the law. So are there efforts? There's always efforts to do better. I can't think of anything as of right now that we could do better that we're not already doing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So coming into the office, there's some evidence, not necessarily in Albany County, but evidence in the country that there are certain things that are definitely problematic with our elections, like drop boxes, like absentee ballots. And I think one of the problems that we have, and that I was at the the elections, corporation elections meeting last Friday. I think one of the problems they have is they don't have, absolute evidence of anything happening. But I think it's hard to get that evidence because when you think about it, all these absentee ballots go out to many, many addresses. And who has the time to surveil the addresses and make sure that the right people are actually grabbing those and taking them and putting them in? Or as some of the evidence that we've seen through different documentaries, we've seen that absentee ballots are taken and filled out by people that they don't belong to and returned to the county clerk's office. So those things are hard to prove. But I think an easy fix would be to drastically reduce absentee ballots to people that are homebound or have to be out of the country and get rid of drop boxes. And I think that would begin the process of helping people feel more confident about elections.
All right, thank you. And now, do you want to change? Okay, so let's take a little break here while our timers get reset. All right. Okay, we'll start. Thank you. All right, they say you should never ask a question if you don't know the answer, but I'm going to try one here. This is just a short phrase, and you respond to it in a short time period. How about I give you a minute for this, okay? You don't have to take it all. All right, so, Sally, testify in court. It always happens on TV, doesn't it?
I can gladly say I never have. So I have no experience with that. Generally, when it's called into question, we consult with our pathologists, and they kind of assist us in the direction. And generally, there's an autopsy, and then the pathologist gets to testify.
Okay, that's a very good answer. Okay, here comes the one I couldn't answer. Tell us, oh no, SAPA, S-A-P-A. Mean anything to you?
I believe that is the Second Amendment Preservation Act.
Anybody want to claim this question? All right, well, let's go with that. Second Amendment
Oh,
Preservation
wait, let me think of
Act.
something more interesting.
Oh, I just got two more. All right. 1 minute? Yes, it's going to be 1 minute. Liquor licenses.
Ooh, I like that one. Oh, so Wyoming has not really modified or updated its liquor laws since Prohibition, you know. And it is becoming an economic hindrance. So right now our liquor laws are based on population, not on market demand. So we know, living in a college town, that there is a higher demand for liquor establishments than there is population. And so I'm really happy to see the Corporations Committee starting to lean into the creation of new licenses for entertainment venues. Maybe that's a movie theater. Maybe that's an indoor putt-putt golf course coming soon to downtown on 2nd Street. But we are starting to have, in conjunction with the Wyoming Liquor Division, thoughtful conversations about how we can change our liquor laws so that they are more business friendly.
All right. Thank you. Brian.
There has been quite a few changes on it, but I love that they leave it to us for home rule. A lot of people didn't know it, but a short time ago, about a year, they said that, well, we're going to expand the liquor laws. And one of the expansions was if you want it in your town, you could have liquor establishments open 24 hours a day. And we said, nope, that's not going to happen. We're going to keep our exact same hours we're going to have now. They also made it that it would be minors would be just fine to set up at the bar. And we said, nope, absolutely not on that one either. Now, if it's a place with a bar license, then we allow them to be in the building in the food section, but we will not allow them to set up to the counter of the bar. So I love home rule. I'll state that again about liquor license, and yes, it is based on population.
All right, so I'm guessing FOIA is Freedom of Information Act. All right, how will you respond to FOIA? Oh, never mind, don't make it a question, just FOIA.
How will I respond?
No, just FOIA, your reaction to that.
Oh, well, I think it's a good thing, and I will respond positively if I get those. So,
Okay.
I mean, freedom of information is freedom of information, right?
Yep.
I'd have to say that's a loaded question for me. We get a lot of FOIA requests, and yes, I agree. Freedom of Information Act, it's public information, and the public has a right to it. But man, does it take a lot of time to go through all of the requests to make sure that they're responded to within 7 days and then given an answer within 30. The county clerk, actually by resolution, is the information or the public information, not officer. She's the person that that receives all the public, the FOIA requests in the county, and it is a daunting daunting job. So that's my reaction to FOIA.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Well, let's try another short one. Didn't like testify, did you? Crime scene.
So as far as entering any scene, you're taught and it's understood that you enter it as it is a crime scene. And the idea with that is that you respect everything where it's at. When we enter the scene is the officer's jurisdiction and the body is ours. But we still have to respect what the police are saying on scene. They are the ones who actually request our presence, so we don't enter a scene until they are ready for us. I know there's some delay in some of that sometimes, and there's a lot that goes into it, but I think it's important to maintain that relationship and understand the boundaries between the police department or the sheriff's office or any law enforcement agency and the coroner's office and what we're there to do. We do take items from the scene into consideration, but our main focus is the body.
All right, thank you. Well, legislatures, you're not going to like me on this one. RC, ranked choice voting.
I will explain it. Ranked choice voting is that if you vote for someone and then they don't make it, your vote can go to your second choice. So I do not like that, because if your candidate doesn't make it, then you might throw it to your second choice and they then may end up winning. I mean, I like our statement that we will have a vote for a person on that, and if you have, like the school board, if you have 5 choices to put in there, fine, you can put 5 choices in there. But I don't want to see it be able to that, well, if these 5 don't make it, then can my vote move to this one? I can imagine it would be an absolute nightmare for on the voting, yeah. And it would, I don't know if it'd have to be nonpartisan or not, but you vote for somebody, you vote for them, win or lose. Thank you very much.
Okay, Trey.
So ranked choice voting and open primaries is something that corporations is digging into. I am open to the idea of both because they tend to show that more minorities, women, individuals who maybe aren't retired and of a certain age and gender and color make it through the system. With those options. And so in visiting the community of Rock River, the majority of the residents there came up to me and said, we want open primaries. We feel that our independent, our constitutionalists, our libertarians are being disenfranchised because when they go to vote, they don't have anybody on their ballot. And so I'm hearing not necessarily support for ranked choice voting, but for open primaries so that our minority parties and the minorities who are running for office are more likely to be considered in the voting process. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, county clerks, election judges.
Election judges. People that serve at the polls on election day for a very long day. They usually start at 6 a.m. and go until the polls close, which is at 7, but can be later than that. They are comprised of Democrats, Republicans, nonpartisans, Constitution Party, Libertarian. They take an oath to uphold the integrity of the election, and they do an amazing job in Albany County. And I applaud the judges that basically volunteer their time because it is a nominal fee that they're getting paid. And yeah, they do a wonderful job in Albany County, and I just want to thank them for doing their public service.
Okay, Sue.
Well, I don't have a whole lot to add to that. That was an excellent explanation of election judges, and I agree, they do a great job. And actually, I would love to be an election judge one day, but I haven't yet had the opportunity. But Yeah, they do a great service to the community. It's part of our election system. It's part of something that the public can do to get involved with elections.
Do you want, I could
so-
expand this. You want to say something about poll watchers? They're also there, and they're also
Yeah,
public.
and poll watchers are the same, you know, that they can be involved. Now that's partisan though, but yeah, I think I would encourage people to do both poll watching and election judges, because it helps you get to know more about the elections. And you know, we want everyone to feel more confident about the elections, so the more we can do that, the better.
All right, thank you very much. Oh, yes. So we go back to you, Sally. I had one here, just a minute. Everybody wants to talk to Trey and Brian. Just can't all talk to Trey and Brian.
Going to hang around a little bit. Talk to us after we're done.
Okay, so all right, so this is back to that frequently asked questions list that I said I found today. Minute and a half. Once they've been informed of the passing of a close friend or relative, apparently a lot of people ask, well, what should I do now? What should they do now?
That's actually the question I am asked on almost every case. And generally, my advice is to, unfortunately, the first steps are to pick your funeral home. I offer a Montgomery Stryker, but some people have made arrangements elsewhere, not from here. So the first steps are to contact a funeral home, and generally that should happen within 48 hours, just to kind of speed up that process of getting that person from point A to point B, because unfortunately, you don't need them sitting around for too long. And then after that, it is, we do issue a temporary death certificate, so you can start going to banks and shutting down, you know, utilities. And from what I understand, your temporary death certificates do a lot of that. It's once you start getting into life insurance policies that you definitely need that final death certificate. But yeah, that's kind of where the ball starts rolling, is unfortunately just kind of tying up any loose ends that person may have, and then making sure you are surrounded by friends and family and have a good support system, and ask the coroner's office questions that you may have, and reach out to the people you need in that time.
All right, thank you. Okay. So, just this afternoon, I was hearing about what this question's about. So I was with the Student Media Board, and the reporter on this particular newspaper article was quite hurt that the national news didn't carry his byline or him or even what paper he worked for. So here's the question. I don't know if you saw the article about a transgender being allowed to join a sorority in the UW newspaper. Well, it's all over the country by now. And it's, I think, the first time the sorority has done that. As legislators, what do you think about that?
I don't know whose turn it is.
Okay. I'm going to guess that Brian is going to say home rule, and I'm going to say local control on this issue. As legislators, we should honor and respect the individual rights of our constituents. We should honor and respect the individual rights of a private business, whether that is a sorority or fraternity, private school, and, you know, applaud anytime we make actions to be known as the equality state. We have not lived up to that moniker, and yet it's something that we hang our hat on. And so we should not interfere in this issue at the local level, but we should support the decision that the sorority made and the braveness of that individual as they look at national attention that can be stressful. So making sure that that individual has support from the community and from the sorority. Thank you.
Okay. And her name was used, just FYI. Brian?
A lot of it's going to be the same as what she said. I will not pass my judgment on to someone else. I will try to do what's good for the state, but not say you as an individual have to follow this rule. There's a United States Constitution over that. And if the university, if that sorority deems it's okay, then that's their business. I mean, am I going to go in there and run around? No, I'm not going to put a protest sign up. I'm not even going to try to say anything good, bad, or indifferent about it. Everybody has, it's the old Don Quixote, everybody has their windmills they want to push over. This is not one that should even come up to the state legislature. This is something that needs to be decided by the university and that sorority chapter, not us. It's not us.
All right, thank you. What is the procedure for handling absentee ballots once they come back to the elections office? How do you verify they came from the registered voter? I think Sue said something about that before.
Well, I've actually not been part of that process, so I really can't answer that in any
Do you
intelligent
want to
way.
speculate what you might?
Well,
wanna
I
make
would.
sure?
I mean, I would speculate that they look at the signature and they match it to something they have in their computer system, and they open it, and then the envelope and the ballot are separated, and one's fed into a machine. That's what I would guess.
Okay.
But I don't know for sure.
So the process for absentee ballots to come back into the county clerk's office is, so they're received into the county clerk's office through the mail, someone dropping them off, or through the drop box. They are time dated, and there is no signature verification in Wyoming statute. So as long as it is signed and dated, it is filed into a secure vault that is under video surveillance as well. And it is kept in that vault until the absentee board processes those absentee ballots on election day. And then the process of processing absentee ballots, I don't know if you want me to go through that process or not, but it is done by bipartisan judges. On election day, there's 3 judges that sit, they verify that the person, that's on the poll list is the ballot, it's opened, it's separated, so that this judge doesn't see, and then it is fed through the machine after it has been separated and the numbers are reconciled on the poll list.
So it's your ballot.
Yep.
Well, as we always say, I've learned something there. Let's see. Coroner, I have to go to the same things I went to before. When and why is an autopsy performed? Oh, let me just say something before you start. In a situation like this, the league usually wants to inform the public. I mean, you're not comparing the answers of 2 people here because there's only one present. So I've been trying to focus on questions that most of us don't know the answer to. I hope you feel like they're okay questions in that sense. All right, Sally.
As far as an autopsy goes, we do consult with our pathologists. We do, since we are not doctors, we can, we take in the evidence, we take in medical histories, consider the age of the decedent, everything like that. There are certain cases in Wyoming and with our office that we pretty much automatically do an autopsy. That can include automobile accidents, homicide, suicides, suspected ODs, and the death of a minor. unfortunately, that is something we do have to deal with. And so there are those automatic cases, but then there are the ones where we don't have a huge medical history and they're relatively young and, just we never get all the answers from an autopsy necessarily, but hopefully it at least gives the family some comfort and maybe points us in the right direction of what's going on inside. But it's conferring with those pathologists that really helps us decide whether or not we need an autopsy, as well as just our experience and training.
All right, thank you. All right, Trey and Brian. What is your opinion of using a voucher system to allow true school choice? I think it's yours this time.
Since COVID and other things, if people deem it, there's been a lot of homeschooling. I know several people in town that are homeschooling. And yes, I do believe in the voucher system. And we had the Snowy Range Academy come up first as a private school, and then it got so popular it became a public school. So having things like that, I think, are a good thing, because the parents need to be having input in to what's being taught to their children. So I believe in this a huge amount, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think this goes back to having options to best educate our children in our workforce. I'll give you an example of my goddaughters are two very different individuals. One is a free spirit and she needs creativity, and she really wasn't thriving in the school that she was at here in Albany County and was able to move over to lab school where there's more flexibility in the curriculum. Her younger sister, my other goddaughter, she needed structure. She needed a uniform. She needed just, more attentiveness throughout the day. And so she was moved over to Snowy Range Academy, and they both thrived because the parents had an opportunity to say, my older daughter learns this way, my younger daughter learns this way. And so thankfully here in Albany County, we have choices, and we have very good choices throughout the county to accommodate the different learning styles of our individuals.
All right, I think the question was also about vouchers. And public charter school doesn't really get a voucher. They just get a percentage, the same percentage as other children in the district. And I don't think homeschooling parents get a voucher, do they? You want to say something about vouchers, or just let it go? Let it go. All right. So.
I need to consult with my school board people. Right?
Oh, here's one you'll just love. What sparked your interest in wanting to become an Albany County clerk?
Well, as I've said many, many times, I've worked in the county clerk's office for 15 years. And with Jackie retiring and being her chief deputy for the last 13 years, it's really a passion of mine. I love the work. It's hard work. It's long hours. It's dedication. It is public service. And I just hope that I can serve the public as well as they've been served for the last 30-some years. And, sorry, we have a really great staff. And I said I wasn't going to do this. We have a really great staff that I hope that can continue to work under me, and we can do great things into the future.
And for those of you who weren't here, it's an emotional moment between one of our candidates and our current clerk, Jackie Gonzalez. You're right? Yes. We hate to see her go, so don't either one of you replace her. All right, well, that has to happen. So, another.
Wait, I didn't answer my question.
Sorry. I'm not ready for the next one.
So I actually have worked in the business sector my whole life, and have, I guess at this point in my life, I look at our country, I just see it maybe isn't going in the direction that I'd like it to go. And so I feel like our government works best when people step up, just normal people step up and run for office. And that's why I decided to run for office, is because I want to make a difference in the country, and this is something I can do. So that's why I decided to run.
Thank you. Would have been terrible to miss that, so I'm sorry. All right. We have time for another couple of questions. Let's try this one for Sally. Could you please outline a reasonable budget for the coroner's office? Just kind of how it's distributed, what costs you have.
So I will say my greatest weakness at this point is I'm not incredibly familiar with the ins and outs of the budget and a lot of that administrative end of the job. I hope to learn and do my best. But just from the basics, from what I understand, we have to accommodate for all of our tools. That includes gloves and masks and hazmat equipment when it's necessary, as well as body bags. And we have many different styles of those. We have to also account for, in our budget, the maintenance of our vehicles, because we go out in the middle of the county in the middle of January. And so we have to make sure we're in an operational vehicle, the maintenance of all of our equipment, including our gurneys, and paying the people who are willing to do the job. The people who are willing, it's taking care of the employees as well, making sure that, this might not be the most inviting job, but if you find someone who wants to do it, maintaining their employment within the office.
Okay, thank you. And I have another of many questions for Trey and Brian. How about this one? Ranchers are suffering because of the economy. How will you ensure that Albany County ranchers and farmers get the support they need? Trey, it's yours.
Thank you. Well, House District 14 is unique, and that encompasses the northern part of Albany County. So we have ranch families who are, up in Garrett, off of Fetterman Road, Esterbrook, and even have Wheatland addresses within the district. And I know something that's important to them is access to market. And so if we treat our ranch and ag producers like small businesses and we prioritize them and provide tools for them to be successful, things like access to meat processing facilities that are USDA certified, so they don't have to ship out of state, so that we can truly say this animal that we're enjoying eating tonight for dinner was grown in Wyoming, processed in Wyoming. That adds value. And so the more that we assist our ag and ranch producers in access to water, protecting their right to graze, and then prioritizing buying local beef or sheep or whatever you're raising, local eggs, that's how we can best stabilize and support our ranch and ag families. And if I've missed something, please reach out to me, because I'm open to being educated on the needs. I mean, I have chickens, but I don't have cattle. Thank you.
Thank you, Trey. Brian.
A lot of it is just providing business opportunities for them. Here in Albany County, there's a lot of federal land that can be leased too. So every so often you might be up in the mountains and you might walk into some cattle while you're out hiking, because they do lease up above Centennial even. So it's kind of wild to see this. So opening up federal property for them to lease to graze their cattle, because it takes a lot of acres per cow on some areas. In our dry flatlands down here, it's over 30 acres per head for one cattle to survive indefinitely. And one of the worst things is some days we have to pray for rain, because that rain's going to decide how well your grasslands are going to be that year. So there's all kinds of opportunity of leasing to them, seeing if we can help them provide markets. But again, just like Trey said, they need to reach out to us and say, this is what would help me the most. Can we do something for them for that? Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So, aside from elections, county clerks do a lot more. How will you ensure these important day-to-day tasks are managed, strengthened?
Are managed.
Managed, strengthened.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think the key to good management is a good organization and a plan of action. And so, my plan is to go in there, and I mean, I actually already know because Jackie shared it with me. She has a calendar of all the things that need to be done, and that's an important first step, because that's how you organize your year, is by knowing what you're doing every month and every week. So that's what I would do. Make sure that we're really organized, and I would find ways to become even more efficient at the things that we do. Some of them I've already shared. So,
All right, thank you.
Can you repeat the question one more
I
time,
certainly
please?
can. All right. Aside from elections, county clerks do a lot more. How will you ensure those important day-to-day tasks are managed, strengthened?
So, as you stated, the county clerk has an immense amount of responsibilities, and I think the important thing is to make sure that each of those responsibilities are managed correctly. Right now in the office, we have an office manager that oversees titles. You want to make sure that that person knows titles well and can manage those employees underneath them. And we have a land supervisor who then manages the land department. We have an elections supervisor who watches over the elections. And we also have a payroll manager who does the payroll and payables for the county. I think the biggest thing as going from employee to boss, for me, is going to be difficult. But I think the biggest thing is making sure that you have the right people in place to manage those positions correctly and to make sure that we're doing the job efficiently and to the best of our ability. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, well, it's a little bit early, but I think I've harassed you enough. I think, what do we do? Maybe one more question. Okay, so another one of these things. How do I obtain the deceased's personal possessions?
So, and I assume that means on the body itself.
The body, or maybe things that were in the vehicle, I'm assuming.
Okay. So as far as the actual possessions, clothes, jewelry, wallets, money, all those things, we do document that once we get to the morgue. We document color, try to get brand in there, where we found it, if it was in somebody's pocket, their jewelry. We document everything. I know generally in our county, unless there's something of specific sentimental value, we generally dispose of the clothing, but generally those clothes are not necessarily wanted to be seen again. So that's kind of our rule of thumb, unless there's a specific request for a jacket or belt or, something like that. But and like that, those requests can be made. I've definitely gone back for a pair of shoes to get for someone because that's what they wanted and that's what they needed. But otherwise, as far as jewelry goes, personal possessions like that, we document all of those. And we have a couple options. I have turned them directly over to the family later that day. And I've also worked with the funeral home. We do have a chain of custody form, so we, track everything we've found. We say what we did with it. We sign and date it, who released it to who, and who it was received by. And both us and the funeral home do that, but we work very closely with the funeral home to return items to family members.
Thank you. And we'll end with sort of a snarky one. With regard to past performance, will you be able to consider legislation with an open mind and no favoritism? I guess so.
I hate to keep coming back to this, but I've been 20 years on city council, where I've been on a council that was highly conservative and a little bit highly liberal. I have negotiated with several other council people to say, here's what I think is going to happen that would be best interest for the city. Last night, we voted on whether to keep the bird scooters in town. And I said yes to all the bicycles and electric bikes and e-bikes, but I said, no, I am not happy with the performance of the bird scooters. So everybody else laughed because it was under one vote and you couldn't vote and split it in half. But negotiations happen a lot. A lot of times people don't even see them. That counselors will call each other and say, here's what I will negotiate and do with you. So yes, I've gotten to meet quite a few of my counselors on one-on-one, which is good.
Thank you, Brian.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Oh, I would if I hadn't just put it away. With regard to past performance, will you be able to consider legislation with an open mind and no favoritism?
Thank you. So when we're on the House floor, we're considering hundreds of bills a day sometimes. And it's our job to look at those as standalone and to create a clean slate each go around. And the lens that I use is, will this serve my constituent? Will this benefit my community? Will this better the lives of the people that I am here to serve? And so you set aside who's bringing that bill, who's speaking for or against that bill, and you focus on, how will it impact the community that I'm here for? So I have no problem working across the aisle, embracing civility, understanding where different people are coming from. But at the end of the day, my vote is not in line with party. It will always be to prioritize the needs of people and the residents of Albany County. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think this is going to be the last real question, and it is, again, a nice one. What would you like the public to know more about regarding the services of your clerk's office?
What would I like the public to know more about? I think more about everything that we do. I think that elections has been such the face of the clerk's office that everybody has lost sight of the important work that we do. It's a lot of work. We do titles, we record land documents. I can go through the whole list of things, but I think just importantly is to let the public realize that there is more to the clerk's office than just elections, and the day-to-day work is tedious. It's hard, but it's public service, and I think serving the public is our duty as public servants, but also as employees of the county. That's also our duty as well, is to serve the public. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, this will be a minute. Are you ready, Al? Oh, I'm sorry. I did it. All right, okay. It's you, Sue.
That's all right. So, so actually, can you repeat the question really quick?
Now that I've buried it even deeper.
I'm sorry. It's about
That's okay. That's okay.
What I want the public to know about what the county clerk's office does. So, yeah. So,
yes, well, that was it.
I think so. Really, you're talking about transparency. So, and I'm all about transparency. I love that. So, I think the public. So, you know, it's funny because running for this office, a lot of people don't know what the county clerk does. So, I think it would be good to get some more information out there so people know more about what the county clerk does. And as far as elections, you know, I know that the county clerk does a lot to try to get the public to feel confident about elections. And I think there needs to be a way for them to know more about how they do that and all the processes that they go through to make sure that elections are fair and free. And so I think transparency on every level would be great for people to know about the county clerk.
Thank you. All right. One 30-second remark about yourself, thing you would like to say that you haven't said already. This is for everybody. Ready, set, go. Sally.
I'm born and raised in Wyoming and definitely in Laramie. I have chosen to stay here after college to put roots down, and I just would love to continue to serve this community the best I can with respect and compassion.
Thank you. Trey?
I'm running for re-election because I have a deep passion to serve. I love this community, which I think most of us do. And I want to hold tight to civility and kindness and compassion. I see at the national level things getting very divisive, and I am optimistic that Wyoming can hold true to our values of taking care of each other, seeing each other as individuals, and leading with our ethics.
Brian?
I love Laramie. I've been here a long time. Went to the Slade Grade School, the Civic Center Junior High, the old high school that they've torn down. I believe in it. When I was a lot younger, I was JC Person of the Year, which was Junior Chamber of Commerce. I have served on the Jubilee Days Committee now for over 30 years. And believe it or not, I go to church here in town, and I have a lot of friends here in town and do not want to see it go awry.
Okay, thank you. Sue?
So I also was born in Laramie, although I was not raised here. But I have a strong desire to serve the public too, and I have many things in my life where I've come into difficult situations and turned them around and caused benefit and excellence even in the situation. So I would love to have the opportunity to serve you as county clerk.
Thank you. And Kayla?
All right. Well, I was not born and raised here. I was born and raised in South Dakota, but I came to Laramie in 2000 to go to the university, and I
Okay, we're in South Dakota.
Huron, South Dakota, eastern South
okay.
Dakota. But I came out here in 2000 to go to school, and I never left. I married a local, and we have a wonderful little daughter, and I love what I do. I love the public. I love the work, but to me, the public service is probably the biggest thing for me, and I hope that I can continue to do so into the future as your county clerk.
All right. Well, let's give them a huge round of applause. Okay, and thank you all for coming out. There's another forum tomorrow night. The voter guide, there are still some copies here. There is a downloadable copy without photographs and ads. It's on the league election page. And so you can just go to League of Women, or WyomingLWV.org or vote411.org. I think you can find lots of things. And watch for the videos if you missed a forum, if you haven't seen all 7 of them. And we'll see you again, I hope, tomorrow night or next Wednesday. So thanks again. Bye-bye. Stay around and chat, I forgot to mention.